So that is supposed to say part 3, not part 2. Hello, everyone. My name is David Reed, and welcome to Dial the Gates. David Hewlett is standing by here. We're going to bring him in just a moment. I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. I want to thank Joseph Malazzi and Colin Cunningham as well. This has been a terrific start to season 2, and I'm so thankful. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers, and that is all thanks to you guys. So here's the thing. I need your help in spreading the word on the project. So if you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal if you click that like button. It makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm, and it's going to help the show to continue to grow its audience forward. And please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, there's a little subscribe icon there. If you want to get notified, giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. Because live streams, they kind of go that way with life. Sometimes things come up and we have to cancel, and you'll get a notification that way. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days and weeks on both the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. So David and I are going to catch up for a little bit here. While that's happening, at youtube.com/dialthegate, you can go ahead and submit your questions to David. You can also submit questions to me, and I will be answering the questions directed specifically at me at the end of the show. So big thanks to my moderating team who's in there helping make this happen. Let's see how crazy we can get today. Mr. David Hewlett, Rodney McKay, is joining us once again. My friend, thanks for being here. Again,
oh, it's a pleasure.
I really
Absolute
appreciate
pleasure.
having you.
I'm dragging my carcass here after having I've just had my booster shot. I feel like I've done the Wraith enzyme coming down. I'm moving rapidly into shrine territory here. So I hope I'm going to be some use to you. I've got, as I was saying before, I've got my giant mug of tea, and it'll be like a fireside chat with a slightly doddering old McKay.
It's the last man all over again.
That's it. It really is.
Any side effects? Mine hurt like hell for the next day, and the arm, and that was it.
I had the ancient old AstraZenecas. So I did 2 AstraZenecas, which I don't think you even have down there, do you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's the dead virus one. It's the old school one. And of course, being the nerd that I am, I was so disappointed because I was like, what? I want the fancy mRNA one. But Canada's like, you get what you're given. You get what you get, you don't get upset.
The fact that these things came out as fast as they did, and that they work, is just extraordinary technology.
We were so lucky because a number of technologies came together.
Yeah.
What was it? Was it cryomicroscopy? The idea that we could actually start seeing these molecules at such a detailed level allowed us to do stuff that we just wouldn't have been able to do before.
What a piece of work is man.
Oh my God, it's amazing. This is my thing, is like I hear about all this, all of this stuff happening with the environment conference going on in was it Glasgow or wherever it is?
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, we're never going to change. We're terrible. Like, we suck. Like, we just suck as a species. We just suck at looking after this planet. So what we got to do is now we got to come up with technologies to help us undo what we've done. Because I think technology is the only thing that's going to save us. Now, I don't think it's going to be a change of the way we are, because that ain't happening.
Human nature. I mean, I've always... the Star Trek fans that we are, for me personally, it's always been like, I completely believe in our ability for technology to get us out of problems, but I do not believe in our ability to put down a hammer when we can take it and beat our neighbor over the head with it.
There's still that aspect of it, I think, for sure.
But I think the technology will win out. I mean, look at polio. It took 7 years to develop the vaccine for this. This took 7 months. That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
We still have a long way to go. Don't get me wrong. The science is always going to evolve, and there'll be faster, more efficient ways of doing things. But it's just
and the world
crazy.
Is a better place. It may seem like a terrible place now, but the reality is,
we get tunnel vision.
Yeah, we're obviously in a very privileged position, but at the same time, I think that it's sometimes it's easy to forget that we have made huge leaps and bounds in quality of life for vast portions of the planet. We got to do a lot more, obviously, but
there's still a lot to be done, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
I hope so. Yeah. So. I really do feel like we're starting to, and also just the generations that are coming up now. Oh my goodness. You know, you're old when you start talking about, and the other generations.
What's your Insta? What's your, everything's fire. Like, what the hell is fire?
Is that fire? Is that,
that's the thing down here. Oh, everything's
like
fire.
Sus. Everything's
sus? Oh,
yeah.
Sucks.
Sus.
Sus?
S-U-S.
That's a new
like
one on
suspect.
me.
Suspect.
Oh my God.
You know, or suspicious or something. One of the two. Yeah. But again, unless you've got like a 13, 14-year-old hanging around, you don't know any of this stuff. Nor do you want to. I'm not sure I want to, but you know, it's actually, it's one of the things I love. We've talked about this before, but that's the Tech Bandits thing for me. It just sort of helps me. I feel like it keeps me in touch with what's happening in the teenage world, most of which I struggle with, but at the same time, I think it's fun to know where their thinking is and where they're going. And it just keeps you young.
When, you know, there's a certain amount of wanting to be aware of what they are thinking. You know, I know when
I think it's important.
Yeah. Well, I remember when shorthand became a big deal, and I was working in radio for 6-7 years, shorthand on phones with texting. Right. And there was a concern, and rightly so, that young people and the older people who wanted to mistreat them in various ways were using a shorthand that even if parents looking at the text messages wouldn't necessarily decipher. And it's important that, you know, you stay at least abreast of a lot of what your kids are doing and what the things that they are saying mean.
Well, the very nature of English, I mean, or language in general is that it changes, it adapts all the time. I mean, it's constantly changing and adjusting the meanings of words and things. I mean,
exactly.
You know, I get schooled on a lot of stuff. I mean, because I'm older. I grew up at a different time with different thoughts on things, and it's fascinating to me. I used to feel sort of threatened by it. Now I find it. I mean, I get told off about something. Now it's like, thank you, because I obviously don't mean to
never quit learning,
do the wrong thing. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. That's it. Lifelong learning, man. And I think it's not even. I mean, I suppose it's a technical term. It's almost like a technical way of calling it. The reality is, it's just, you know, the world is an amazing place. There's amazing stuff going on. It's why I love science fiction. Is it's people experimenting with a future that hasn't happened yet. You know what I mean?
And also perhaps warning us about futures that we don't want to go down to.
Yeah, which is weird though, and yet we still literally just sign ourselves up for it. I mean, it's just amazing to me. People talking about Facebook right now and the evils of Facebook. I'm like, they're like, what about this? What about data privacy and stuff? I was like, you gave them everything. What do you like? It's not like they had to take anything.
Right.
You know, we happily give this stuff up for $5 off or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so it's
and
amazing
for praise from strangers, we'll happily expose ourselves in all manner. And means
everyone's becoming more and more like an actor. It's terrifying. Everyone just wants attention all the time. Our competition is increased by millions,
by 7 billion. Yeah, the world is literally a stage.
Yeah,
yeah, and the thing that that scares me is the stuff that we're putting out there now. That intentionally or not, maliciously or not, we have no idea will be able to be used against us in the future. Like when you text your nude to your girlfriend, and then your girlfriend turns on you and posts that online, that is out there in the ether now, and you know, may come back to haunt you later on. What was the girl who drank bleach, you know, and ended up killing herself after that just a few years ago? We are so mortal, and we have to really be careful about what it is that we put out there, because once you cast that fishing pole, you can't always reel it back in.
Yeah, and the internet is permanent. It's like stone. It's worse than stone. It's just it's like writing it in stone. It keeps getting dug up. I mean, it's over and over again. Yeah. But I think the thing to remember that was a sort of it's one of those things that we all understand, but to have it said sometimes helps, is that, you know, you go on the web, you get all depressed about how many stupid people there are and the stupid things that are said or the inappropriate things or whatever. The reality is it takes nothing to say something stupid or to react to something in a bad way. It takes no thought at all. It takes a lot of thought. Like this admittedly, it's just a conversation, but it still requires you to organize this stuff, to plan it, to actually take some time to put stuff together, have some semblance of a plan for the chat or whatever, to do something that is useful to people. It requires work. So there's always going to be more like crap out there than there is quality stuff, always. And that's not a testament to humanity. That's just the nature of work, and
also knowing your audience as well.
Yeah.
I remember when Steve Jobs, came out with the iPad and the iPhone, and his son Reed was pretty young at the time, and it was eventually revealed that Reed was never allowed to touch any of this stuff.
God, I wouldn't have wanted Steve Jobs as my dad.
Well, right. Well, I mean, when you've got other, like, I'll never forget my neighbor bringing out her 18-month-old. The kid's crying. She snaps an iPad into the entertainment center, pacifies the kid immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you? I may be straying a little personal here. Did you? What kind of boundaries did you set down for your family, being as tech heavy and aware as you are, and as you try to be?
I think I made all the wrong choices. I mean, we were definitely very much aware of what was being used on the iPad, and we tried to sort of skew it towards things that were, there's some brilliant games out there. One that I love, Dragon Box or whatever it was, which was basically teaching, it was, God, what would it have been? I can't remember the name of it. This is where my brain goes. This is okay. I blame COVID. I blame COVID vaccines for this. But algebra is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. But basically, it teaches you algebra, but using images. So you got little kids working stuff out using images instead of numbers, because basically, whatever it is, math is just a bunch of symbols.
Yeah, your brain connects it the same way.
Yeah. Like my brain is not connecting now, but I'll stay away from math in this conversation. Because there's going to be a few no-fly zones for the ones where I'm not going to make any sense. But yeah, so there was a lot of we actively looked in a nerdy way. I would look for things that were hopefully of use to him. But the reality is, I was never allowed to use the television.
That's right.
And as a result, I really feel like I missed out, because Monday morning you'd come in and I didn't know what happened on $6 Million Man the night before. That's,
and you somehow wound up on TV.
And yet I found, well, yeah, absolutely. But I am also one of those people who can't go into a bar with TV on. I'm like, I can't, like, it's not, I never learned to do that multitasking thing that everyone else seems to do. So
interesting.
It was, there was always something special about television and films to me. It was like, my father hated television, but always brought films home to watch. Always was a huge movie buff.
He appreciated the art.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think what he didn't like, and I caught myself saying to my son the other day, he didn't like the flicking of channels, because then he felt the networks were telling you what to watch. Then.
Right.
It's what caught your eye.
And you're not watching. A friend of mine once told me, you're not watching what's on. You're trying to watch what else is on.
And you're just waiting to get caught. Right. You're just like waiting to get caught. You're like a fish, like you're just waiting for that hook. Oh, what's going to get me? And that's what happens with the algorithms on YouTube and stuff. So one of the things I say to my son is like, please don't just watch next. Think of something you want to watch and look it up.
Feed you.
Exactly. So that's the sort of stuff we've been showing. The other thing I told my son, which was one of the Mythbusters talked about this, was that the internet hates women. So I taught my kid that any question he asks the internet, keep in mind, it's probably sexist, racist, homophobic, ableist, and everything else, because, it's like asking your dodgy uncle a question. You're going to get you may not get the most appropriate answer to stuff. And that's been interesting as well. So just like trying to get him to go to different sources. So it's not just, he'll come in and go like, the internet's turned everyone to like Cliff Clavern from Cheers, right? They all come in with like, well, actually, the virus is caused by, everyone's got like an 5G. Opinion on something. Exactly. That's it. Well, yeah, and that's in the false case. But but it's also, people have these useless facts that they've learned on the internet that they like to throw into conversation now. A lot of the kids do. And I'm always big on, give me 3 sites. Give me 3 sites that can back that up. Because that sounds amazingly cool, but there's a very good chance that it's not even real. It's just something that they've come up with that they know is going to hook people's attention. So.
The search algorithms are often, for better or for worse, because they just churn us. Are often, for better or for worse, lowest common denominator machines. that are going to feed us whatever it is that we want. Not necessarily what we need or what someone else thinks that we need, but what we want to keep on using it.
Yeah, it's like the little rats going up and electrocuting themselves to get the cheese. Like they'll keep doing it over and over and over again. I mean, it's just we're not designed for this world. You know, we're just not, our brains were not designed to have this much information presented to us all the time. We're also not designed to operate at, 100 miles an hour on highways. I mean, like we are, I think we have been outpaced by our technology, and we are now beginning to look to other technologies to help us with the technologies that we have now. So we've got autonomous vehicles, we've got AI working through the data for us, we've got big data, we've got all these things, all these technologies that are coming out right now are ones that are basically augmenting us as humans and allowing us to actually compete and function in this world that is just too fast and too vast for us at this point, right?
But at the same time, I'm thankful for so much of the technology like we have right now. The ability to sit down and talk with you across borders, transmitting around the world across borders, anyone, who has access to it. It's remarkable.
And the pandemic, could you imagine if the pandemic had happened without the internet? I mean,
I've often thought about that.
It would just be it would be a disaster. I mean, admittedly, we saw it really showed up a lot of the, the haves and the have-nots in the world from the education standpoint as well. But the fact that there was a possibility to get any education during a situation like that is extraordinary.
I mean, part of me was like, if we didn't have the internet and the pandemic happened, what chances are there that, there would have been a spike in reading books? That's a part of it. But I mean, that's
books is an interesting one though too, because I started thinking, well, would we have invented books if we'd been able to go straight to the internet and video from the cavemen days? I mean, when we were like living in caves, telling each other stories, we've really gone back to like podcasts and these kind of things. We've gone back to telling stories in the way that we're most used to it, which is by looking at people and seeing them wave their arms around and stuff, some more than others, apparently. And that's a little callback to Nickel.
Right.
And
David Nickel.
And then there's the idea that we came up with books purely to allow us to distribute the knowledge that we had, or to keep it contained in some ways. But the idea that, it was an abstraction that we were forced to create because there wasn't technology that allowed us to do this. If we had leapfrogged over that stuff, I'm not sure we'd even need books. And that, of course, some people get very, very antsy about that. Well, it's like books. I love books.
It's not just that. There is a reduction in speed and a thoughtfulness of process to putting in your thoughts into a book that allows you to be considered of your thoughts and allows you to make multiple drafts and refine your thought rather than just like this. It's live. Once it's out, it's out. And the things that we say aren't always 100% what we mean. But we have with the book, you have a chance to do that. And the flip side of that is so few, and this is the thing that I'm even noticing in myself, and probably you are too, we're not patient enough to absorb the information anymore. Our mind wanders so fast, and it's like,
well, especially
if I'm this
someone
bad
with ADHD
now,
like me. I mean, I'm recently diagnosed with ADHD, and it's like everyone's like, like no one, I including myself, was that surprised. And if it doesn't make much difference in my life, anyways, but it's just kind of fun to have that as something, another thing to learn about, basically. But the idea that we don't. I think it's every so often, like I've got the best invention, the best purchase I've made in the last 2 years is just a pair of of the AirPods for my phone, because I can go for walks and talk to people on the phone. I can always be doing something. And every so often I've realized I have to take them off, put them in my pocket, and just walk for a bit with my own
your
stuff.
Thoughts, because and have stuff arrive to you.
Yes. Otherwise, there's just noise all the time. Noise. You're constantly being buffeted by other stuff going on all the time. So,
do you and Jane sleep with your phones next to your nightstands, or
do you put them away? We're awful. I mean, we see each other by the glow of the lights. And, that's how I probably wouldn't recognize Jane without the glow of the light. I mean, the other problem, of course, with the pandemic is that we don't just work from home. We live at work. I mean, that's the delineation we're missing. I think is very important for some people, because your office can also become a prison. but I think you and I are somewhat familiar with this stuff. Like we've done this before. I think nerds, I'm assuming I'm including you and myself in this. I think we kind of thrive in this environment because it's like we're used to this. This is the cyber existence where we're all equal because we're all just from here up anyways. It's just about what we have to say and our, I think that's something we've always sort of reveled in.
But I think back to us, we also have to remember our trick is to remember when to step away.
Oh, well, that's what I never do. I'm terrible. That's why we got a dog. My wife got a dog in spite.
To walk the humans.
I fought it. She's walking her human. I mean, that's it. Yeah. Jane wanted me to leave the house. I was like, there's a pandemic on out there. I'm not going out there. I'm a germaphobe at the best of times.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Before we get into the Stargate section of the conversation.
We're never going to get to the Stargate. There's too much stuff to talk about.
There's too much stuff happening. You mentioned something to me at the start of the program that was like, I really want to bring that up. Your friend Lance, Gimpy G.
Yeah.
What was going on?
So this is Lance is a friend of mine I met through Barnacules, another sort of YouTuber and a Twitch guy. Wonderful guy, ex-Microsoft programmer.
Oh, wow.
Just one of the things I love about the internet, I love about Twitter is, I mean, everyone has these horrible stories about Twitter. And I'm like, I don't understand. I love Twitter. I meet people I would never talk to otherwise. And one of them was Barnacules. And so we started whenever I can, I do a Saturday morning sort of tech talk with him. And Assistive Tech came up one day. This guy, Gimpy G Gaming came up and said something about, how do you do this? And Barnacules is like, well, I'm more of a software guy. I don't really know much about Arduino and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, dude, it's my bag. Like I love that stuff. I've got an electric wheelchair in the other room that's being operated by an Arduino right now. I love it. I'm going to kill someone, but it's fantastic. I got to get a kill switch. That's my next purchase is a kill switch. Cause I realize that once it's on, it's on. I mean, it is very hard to stop a wheelchair when it's moving
at speed.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so I was smart enough to actually put it up on a little stand so the wheels go, but I'm very glad Jane's like, what's that burning smell? I was like, it's just me.
Don't mind the motor.
It's fine. But anyway, so he asked about some assistive stuff and I said, oh, great, well, let's chat. And we started talking and he's just a freaking hilarious guy. He's got he was a teacher. He's a teacher who had to literally sue the education board to get the job because he was the most qualified guy, never got the job. And they're like, well, we'd have to build like ramps and stuff because he's in a wheelchair.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So, small town,
okay.
Obviously a lovely community that sort of rallied around him. So what happened recently is that he just got set up. His brother-in-law had built the space up. His nephew had helped him out. They'd got the whole Twitch streaming gaming thing because his dream was, he's like, the one thing he can do is they can roll him up to the computer. He could control it with his head and a head-mounted mouse. And we had this. We've got these assistive. See if I can drag this in so you can see it. I don't know if you can or not. But so there's these amazing the quad sticks where you can control it with your mouth.
Yes.
And by sipping and puffing, amazing things. All set up. He's doing that. He just started streaming. And then one of his streams, fire alarm, I don't know if the fire alarm went off or no, his sister came in and said, we just had to call 911. And he literally on the stream goes, I've got this sinking feeling. And sure enough, he gets wheeled out and then the room just fills with smoke and his house burns down on stream. He's got nothing. And of course the house is kitted up with all of his assistive tech. He's got his mom there because his mom is in some quite a long stage of dementia. Yeah. Got his sister who looks after him, his nephew who looks after him, his brother-in-law. They're all in a comfort inn, which he says might need to change its name. But of course, what we forget is it's not just about a bed because he can't sleep in a regular bed. He's got to be moved. He's got to be able to adjust. He's got this because when you just lie there are different pressure points that need to be
adjusted all the time.
I remember I always thought well, if you're quadriplegic, you don't have to worry, you don't feel anything. But of course the reality is in his case, he feels everything. He just can't move it.
Yeah.
He sort of laughingly talks about a time that a spider made a web on his face and there's nothing he's like, trying to get rid of it, and it's just
there's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can
it's
do.
like in an iron lung.
But he is so freaking positive. He's so funny. He's I was playing Magic the Gathering with him and stuff before all of this. And then this happened, and I sort of feel like if there's one little thing I can do, it's sort of point people at his GoFundMe. I know times are tough for everyone right now, so I totally understand if you can't. But if you can, he's a great guy to help out. One of the things that happened was the heat from the fire was so intense, his vehicles burst into flames. So his wheelchair lift van, that's gone. And apparently, one of the last things his mother did was to renew the insurance, and it was not insured for fire. So they've just gone, yep, sorry about that van, buddy. So he's got to get it, at the very least, he's got to get an assisted van, because that's
where can we go?
Yeah,
on GoFundMe.
It's GoFundMe. I think he's called himself the Quad Squad. Let me see if I can find the link for you. And again,
Lance
he's just got
Carr.
Lance Carr, that's the man. Did you find it?
I did indeed, and it's going up on
the
screen right now. Oh, he's got Puppy.
He does. Oh my God, yeah.
Aww.
Who I thought was snoring in our last Twitch chat, but it turns out it wasn't. It was one of his family.
Yeah, GoFundMe. I just put in on that's funny, on Google. GoFundMe Quad Squad.
Yeah,
he's halfway to his goal.
Well, this is the funny thing. That was originally that goal was to get him kitted up with assistive tech. Now, as I say, like, a life is a lot more expensive than $50,000. So
that's true.
I think he's going to need any help he can get.
Absolutely.
Least, and also, honestly, I think this is the other thing that I've said, like, how do we turn this, how do we turn Gimpy G into a phoenix rising from the flames? And I think what's kind of nice is his channel got a huge bump because, of course, the news outlets jumped on this and goes, quadriplegic man, rescued from burning house on Twitch stream. And,
it's something you'd want to see in a comic almost.
There you go. So it's
incredible.
So he's got a bunch of news stuff, which I think has picked up some interesting stuff. So, and I was saying, like, well, great, let's just run with it. Like,
absolutely.
And I've been bugging a few friends in the HGTV space to see if they can maybe, I just thought, what a great episode that would be about getting a bunch of Stargate nerds together to come and rebuild his house as an assistive palace of some sort. You know what I mean? Like, just, I don't know, something just to help fund it, pay for it.
Absolutely.
For some reason, I don't know why, assistive tech fascinates me. The idea of, like, augmenting ourselves. I mean, we define ourselves by our technology. The idea that technology will soon be at a point where it basically makes them, it's semantics. You know what I mean? Like, when we can all move the same way, or we can all move depending on what kind of machinery we've got attached to us. I think that's a pretty amazing place to be living.
Amazing and scary. Where do we end and does it begin?
Well, and it's beginning by having a phone in our pockets, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it started.
I think these, frankly.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true. That's right. I suppose now we'd also probably be able to see better if we weren't at the computer all the time. But yeah, the fact that eyewear now has become cheap enough that people can see what they couldn't before. And that's kind of extraordinary. I hadn't even thought of that. That's very smart. Very smart. Well, smart guy right there. There you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to post the link as well, and it's in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, absolutely, and thank you, Summer, for posting it in the chat as
Summer
well,
rocks.
guys.
Thank you, Summer.
Summer rocks. Yeah. All my
and keep an eye. And the other thing is, if you can go and follow him on Twitch, because we'll get some big numbers for him. That'll help him get some help, even just itself. That doesn't cost anyone anything. So
what does he do on Twitch?
Games. He games.
Like what specifically? As the gamer in the room.
Well, I mean, just he's I got him into Magic the Gathering, which he really quite likes. And he's really good at it now. It drives me crazy.
I've never gotten into it.
Fair. Really?
Nah, I've tried and I'm like, there's so many moving parts.
Baz came up with this idea, which I thought was brilliant, to do like a Magic the Gathering for us sci-fi nerds.
Yeah.
And we wanted to call it Astronauts and Aliens, and do like the same kind of thing, and have different houses. Like, there'd be like a race of tree-like creatures and a race of insect-like creatures, and there were humans, and you had to build. It's a great idea. I'd love to try to figure something out with it, because I do love the mechanics of Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And the idea of having a Magic the Gathering that wasn't just all these sort of, I was never a huge fantasy fan. I mean, I read a bit of sort of, Piers Anthony and stuff, but it was all pretty sort of like, teeny bop kind of fantasy stuff. I preferred the sci-fi. So the idea of being able to do a Magic the Gathering, only it's like Science the Gathering, would be just, I think would be.
Well, if you guys continue to pursue that, please let me know, because
I would like maybe we'll get
sure.
Gimpy G. Get Gimpy G
absolutely.
And Q on that. Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
Two guys who go to that.
I've got several fan questions that have already been submitted that I do want to come around to.
Know me, so whatever you want to,
I gotcha. So the first of which we have to get to right off the top. Jen Collin, did you enjoy the AI script?
Oh my God. It was, it's like a fantasy for me. It didn't make any sense at all, but what I was blown away, the thing that blew me away about the AI script stuff was that it got the stage directions right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were, if you think about what it requires for it to have.
That's true.
It had a progression. People would enter the room. People would say something. People would leave the room. The gate was dialed.
The Stargate opened at one point. I was kind of surprised that it went.
He looks at her. She looks at him. He looks back
at her.
It was just, but it was so like reading a script written by a child.
Yeah.
Like I've been there. I've been handed those scripts by my son, and you're like, you're laughing about how ridiculous aspects of them are, back when he was much, much younger. But now it's scary. He comes up with ideas and you're like, God, that's good. I'm taking that. But the idea that it was capable of doing that, I think the fact that we're seeing it at this level, and Lawrence Roney as well is another, he's just a wonderful guy to talk to. I think secretly, I kind of, one of the reasons why I jumped on that one as opposed to other things was just because I felt that there was some crossover there with Tech Bandits and my own sort of learning stuff. And I was just fascinated by it. And as a result, Lawrence and I have been chatting.
Correct.
Chat with him again.
Absolutely.
And so we've got all sorts of stuff having like that other trouble we can get into now as well. But and I just love that Brad was sort of prescient enough and to jump on that stuff. Brad's I love him. He's just wonderful to have around. He laughs at my jokes and and then just to see everybody again. That's the other thing. It's really nice to even in a Zoom chat. I haven't seen Amanda for like decades at this point. We're like ships in the night. She arrives in Toronto and goes and I go, "Hey, you in Toronto?" And she goes, "Yeah, tomorrow." And I'm like, "Yeah, I leave tomorrow."
Right.
So it's just been ridiculous. So,
well, it was,
and I'm so impressed with her career. Like the directing stuff is fantastic.
Is extra. I have wanted to get her on, and her people are very
hard to get.
She's hard to get, and I'm so conflicted because on one hand I'm like, I'm so happy for her, and on the other hand I'm like, please give me an hour.
take a freaking break.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, she's just absolutely just extraordinary, and it couldn't have happened to a more well-deserved person. The career that she's wanted,
both as a person who is just such a fantastic person and also who just knows her craft. I mean, if anyone's going to tell you how to do something in a scene, it's going to be Amanda. She's been doing it longer than anybody, and doing it really well, and has always been one of those team player actors that is there to help facilitate the storytelling, not just their own ego. And it's just and she's just, I love her to bits. She's amazing.
The thing that really surprised me, and you're right very much on the point of the stage direction being what it was, juxtaposed to the dialogue, which
was all over the place.
All over the place. And
some of the funniest lines, though.
Well, I
think Brad's going to steal a few of those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I'm Daniel Jackson. If you don't know me, you should study more. I like that one.
Right? I mean, I walked into it not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
And I got a text message from Richard Pascoe, who's one of the founders of GateCon. And he I think said it the best. I think Brad's job is safe for the considerable future. I said, I think
for a while though, but here's the thing though, those technologies, they start slow and clumsy, like,
but how long has Watson been around? And you can put that up against, I mean, that thing beat the Jeopardy contest, and that's been what, 5, 6, 7 years more. I was just kind of surprised.
I mean, again, I also don't think that people have been putting it to. I think what I love about Lawrence and what Lawrence is doing with this is that he, like ourselves, is someone who just is just revels in the science fiction, revels in the science, is someone who's constantly trying to sort of just basically wants to live in that sci-fi world. So he's playing with this stuff. I think if people put some time and resources into this, I think we'd be amazed at what it comes up with, because I think the weird sort of little haunting back of my neck thing that I got was I've read this script before, and I've read it from children. Yeah. And I mean, and they develop, right? I mean, they learn. And the more they learn, the better they get at this stuff.
But I also have to admit, it texturally, even though it was all over the place, texturally, it did feel like Stargate. And it wasn't just because the gate opens.
Oh, come on.
So.
I mean, they threw that in there.
It was,
what I mean?
There were things that gave me a little bit of heebie-jeebies. And I was like, am I seeing a preview of our future? In 20, 30 years, are we going to have her, with Scarlett Johansson's voice and all?
But again, if it's good at it, great. You know what I mean? If it can come up with new Stargate stories for me, that every night I go to bed and I listen to a new Stargate story written by an AI and I don't know, and I don't care because I enjoy it, that's fantastic. And that just frees people up to do other stuff. So,
the emergency brakes in me always just constantly warning myself at equal proportions, just don't get swept away, by the tech.
I think he talks about there's this unrealistic expectations with these things. Yeah. Where you come into text to speech or speech to text, and you're like, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, it doesn't work right away, but here's what it's good at. Yeah. Yes. Or here's what it's good at, or here's what but again, that's the funny thing is that the tech, I think up until very recently, has all been about trying to adapt the human to the tech. Look at the keyboard, for God's sake. It's designed to slow us down so we don't mash keys on a typewriter. Our technology is designed by engineers, and because generally geeky white nerds in their basement, and that's changing now. And that diversity in tech is, I think, going to have a huge impact on where things go now, because all of a sudden we're saying no, I don't even look. I'm one of those guys now who, when I pick up new software and stuff, if it's not intuitive enough for me in the first couple of days, if I can't go through if I can't do an introduction tutorial and be able to at least do something with it, I'm like, screw this.
That's true.
That's it. And that may be just my ADHD, but it's also, I think it's like, no, that it's not advanced enough yet.
Right.
It should be designed around how an artist works, or how whoever's using whatever you're using it for, a data scientist or a bio, whatever you're into. It should be designed to work with us, not us have to figure out how to work with it.
I mean, to a degree, I think that the latter is expected, but it should be a fraction of a percent compared to the other way around. Yeah. I think looking back on the AI scripts, the other part that I took home was when it was said, it can what comes out of it can only be as much as what was put into it. And this garbage was a in, test. Out. This was an experiment. And something tells me that potentially, maybe not, but if they poured millions and millions of dollars in research into coding more specific information about Stargate into this thing, who knows how refined a script would have come out.
What would be interesting if there was some way of having the AI process like the Gate World glossary, because then it would be armed with everything in a way. If you could have it parse what's on that huge tome of stuff in the Omnipedia, or even just the combination of it could look at the things that people say in the chat. It could look at things that have been written about the episode. It could look at reviews, fan fiction, all sorts of stuff, and then start going okay, this is what I'm beginning to get a sense of patterns here. Because, and in a weird way, it's kind of perfect for television, because television is all about doing the same thing differently every week. People want things to be different, but they don't want it to be too different. Otherwise, it's not the show that they're interested in, right? So in a way, an AI is perfect for that, going okay, how far can I go before we start losing people's interest,
Yeah, straddling the uncanny valley.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't wait.
Those Unreal faces, man, they just look a little bit dead behind the eyes, but other than that, they are there.
And they'll get there, yeah. If they're not already, who knows? We could be looking at politicians that aren't actually politicians anymore. I mean,
politicians are definitely.
The deep fakes have become very, very good.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
man. Summer says your recent audition videos are funny and brilliant. Can you tell us about that project and will it continue?
That's funny. A lot of my friends have said, like, dude, I think you may have found your calling. I did them sort of as a joke. We were talking about the companion guys about doing the AI thing, and sort of in passing, I made like some stupid joke about I should audition for it, and we sort of ran with that as one of the ideas for helping to promote it. And I feel kind of weird about the companion stuff because it's a for pay service, and I guess I didn't realize really how. I feel a little icky about that side of stuff, not because they're doing anything wrong, but just because I feel like I feel weird selling people on a service that I'm not using myself. Normally if it's something I'm selling to people, it's something that I use myself and I like or whatever. So I was a bit nervous about doing it at first, but I liked the nerds who were running it because a bunch of wonderful British nerds, and people seem to like it. So people like what they're delivering. So, and they also had a free giveaway thing, so you could get your first few months free, and then you would be able to see this
right
stuff.
You're incentivized to check it out.
That was the idea. That was sort of my. I think if that wasn't there, I don't know that I would have been up for it. But so we were talking about how do we let people know about it. I made a joke about these videos. Then of course, as soon as I said it, I got off the chat and I was like, Jane, what if I just committed to something else? Why can't I say no? And Baz and I just got Baz and we went downstairs and we literally just went, let's just try some.
Let's just try it.
And Baz was such a great straight man. Like all that off camera is Baz.
He's a trooper.
And he just makes that shit up. Excuse my language. He just makes that stuff up. He's just like, he was like that whole bit about the puffin. That was him. The whole, the one that got me that I didn't even notice on the day was I do the little flex. And I say, how does that look better? And he's like, I don't think anyone will notice. And it's like, I'm like, you little jerk. And it's just, again, this is one of those amazing things. I mean, again, this sort of goes back to the AI in a way, but there was a time when Baz would just say nonsense. It was just, he was kid stuff. And you'd be like, yeah, there. And then all of a sudden it starts making sense. And then it starts actually making you think. And it's, and I think I sort of liken the AI to the child to some extent. And it's kind of neat to watch Baz turn into a sort of empathetic and irritatingly quick young teenager.
We move a little bit faster than the computers do, but at a certain point, it's long. Like that's the question. So absolutely. Planet TV. I play the game The Sims 3. I remember The Sims. And have as Rodney's McKay's traits, I have handy, genius, computer whiz, neurotic, and workaholic. Do you think these 5 traits work for McKay?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I think you might have been sarcastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And was there ego in there? I mean,
no, computer whiz, genius. Yeah, that's definitely nothing in terms of like.
I think maybe it's like self-professed genius.
Right.
I think there's always because one of the things I loved about McKay was he wasn't just smart. He was irritatingly smart because he was one of those people who knew it and just didn't have. It was almost like, I don't know if they call it Asperger's anymore. It's sort of on the spectrum there,
right,
where you are. You just assume that everyone is an idiot.
Right, exactly.
And I think it's, and it was just it's so much fun to play those sort of flawed, wonderful, I mean, deep down, probably an all right person, but
right. But the way that he presents himself, that's the thing, and I think that's no finer demonstrated than in Sunday when he's woken up by the 2 junior scientists. And they're like, well, you did the same thing last week. And he's like, yeah, that's because I am me. You are you. And when you break something, you don't have to fix it. I do.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're sitting there going, man, this guy is a jerk. But at the same time, he's the guy you call when you need the problem solved. So you can't really argue with that. He just has, it's like the line from,
and smart people aren't necessarily nice. They don't necessarily go along together. I worked with a lot of people, and I did IT for a little while, and I met a lot of people like this who were like really, really smart, but really, really difficult to work with.
I'm trying to The film's name, I can't think of it right now, but it's got Jeff Bridges and Ron Goodman in it. The Dude Abides. I can't think of it, but
with the dude? You mean
The Dude.
Yeah. The brothers. Oh my God.
Exactly. You know, the quote that always comes back to me is, "You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole."
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. But that's it. I think that really is. I think and I think that there's a lot of. Here's the other. I mean, one of the other issues you have with going back to the tech stuff to some extent in reference to this is that we reward these sort of almost sociopaths with money, with fame. Lauded them, we put them up on pedestals, and then we go like, why are people such jerks? It's like, because that's what we're promoting. You know what I mean?
That's who they're emulating.
Like, I'm not sure I think there's an assumption that you sort of have to be an asshole in order to be brilliant. It's just not true. It's just not true. It's just that they tend to get ahead because they're willing to step on other people to get there.
Right.
And our society has always rewarded that. And I think that's beginning to change now too.
Yeah, I mean, what do we get in the process? I mean, if we're going to let you run amok and do what you're going to do, is what you return to society had better be leaps and bounds in the comparison, you know?
Yeah, these people are exceptional humans, but they're terrible humans. They're just
right
not good
at the same.
humans,
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And then you that's sort of exacerbated by the fact that they are also being ridiculously wealthy as well. So
exactly.
There's a bubble that forms
around them.
Watching. Watching the Facebook guy Zuckerberg trying on virtual outfits as he changes the name of the most reviled company in the world to Meta from Facebook is just, you're just like going like, who's telling him this is a good idea? I'm
convinced he's an android. I mean, that Data deep fake, man.
Data had a better heart.
Well, to be
Data
fair, we got
human.
to know Data.
It's true.
So, instead of, in front of a Senate hearing.
And again, I'll bet you if you meet Zuckerberg, he's probably
yeah.
I think it'd be fascinating.
Probably have a beer with him. Yeah.
Same thing with Bezos and
right.
Maybe Elon Musk seems a bit crazy. I'm not sure I'd want to be out for dinner with him. I feel like he'd just do something weird and inappropriate. You'd be like, oh, come on, get off the table and pull up your pants.
I mean, he's also admitted that he's on the spectrum. So, I mean,
so that would not really. Again, I don't think anyone's going like, really,
right. But at least he's aware.
Yeah.
Eva wanted to know, I'm curious about this. When are you going on that road trip to visit Joseph Prusa? What's the story there?
So, I don't know. Do you know much about 3D printing? Are you a 3D printing fan?
I'm a fan, yes, but I haven't done much of it. So I mean,
Prusa's not just a man; he's a printer. I know. That's really all 3D printed, right?
Almost.
Yeah. So the joke is that everyone, many people love 3D printing, but very few of them are a 3D printer. So Joseph is both a man and a printer, and he's a new type of leader. He's a new type of billionaire. I mean, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's someone who has got where he's got because he loves what he does and he loves people. I've never, I would get tweets from him, like direct message tweets during the pandemic where he's freaking out because he's got 500 people working for him and he's desperate to keep them safe. Like desperate. This is not a marketing ploy. This guy is like, I am responsible for these people. How do I save them? And he responded, and his solution to that was to go above and beyond with the creation of masks and shields and protection for his workers that then got adopted by the country itself. And then, and he helped. I mean, I printed a number of his little face shield things for our local hospital because they wwere desperate for shields at that point. And they're brilliant. Again, it was a little plastic shield that you could print out. It didn't take too long to print. And then you took those 3-ring binder protector pieces paper, and then you went clip, 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 and you put it on, and then you had a face shield. And the hospitals were like eating them up because it's like, oh my God, this is storm. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's also shameful that our world is at a point where we had to do that. But but still,
the fact that we have the technology and that we have people like you guys who are willing to say, you know what, hell with it, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I did nothing, but the Prusa guys are the heroes here. I mean, and I think Joseph cares. That's what I love about him. Is he's just somebody who truly he just loves humans. And I think that is not a common thing with a lot of these successful men. You know, and I just anyway. So and I made a joke because there was a picture of one of his kids working, not kids, but one of his, everyone's a kid now, David.
I know,
but one of these young people standing behind a booth at the Prusa booth, and I was like, oh man, I would totally hang out at the Prusa booth and talk about Prusas, because I've got two 3D printers of his.
Wow,
and they're brilliant, and they're kits. I have built them from freaking nuts and bolts. I love them.
You can tell those who are running the show. You can feel it in your bones, and not with 100% accuracy. Those who look at us as people and those who look at us as consumers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
I never feel like a consumer with him. He truly, he is so excited about what he's doing. And again, I think that can also turn into one of those psychotic leaders as well. But I mean, I think in this case, it's truly, he's doing something he loves. He's hiring people he respects. He's reaching out to the 3D printing community is one of the things, I think apart from the Stargate community, it's one of the most like welcoming and supportive communities that you can be a part of. I mean, I think honestly, I've got more out of the 3D printing community than 3D printing, if that makes sense. Like
absolutely.
Met these amazing, like Wexter. There's this guy Wexter who does all of these. He has a Patreon, and every week he puts out a new little model.
Wow.
And they are just beautiful what he does.
I think I've stayed away because
you can spend a fortune.
Well, that's the part of it. I think I'll just disappear and never come back out again, because they are the beginning of replicators. You know?
Oh, they are.
We will get there.
They are replicators. Have you seen? Prusa's got a room. It's got a farm of, because the other thing about Prusa's printers is Prusa's printers are made by Prusa's printers.
Jeez.
So Prusa's printers print the parts that then go on to make other Prusa printers. So I snapped a piece because I'm an idiot when I built my second one. And I was like, oh, what will I do? I go to the other one and I print the part and I put it in and it works fine, because that's what they do anyways, you know?
Wow.
No, it's absolutely brilliant. And I think, again, I do think it is very, very easy to go to forget that there can be, there can be things that happen, consequences that happen from these technologies that we do need to be aware of. But I'm afraid that my first response is always joy. I'm always just like, wee, every time I see
the inherent possibilities, you know.
Yes.
The important thing is that that all of us remember to hit the emergency brake every now and then and ask.
Yeah.
You know, I just go back to Jeff Goldblum, sitting with Sir Richard in
Jurassic World. There you go.
In the lunchroom right there, saying, "Okay, have you stopped to consider this?"
Yeah,
that's one of the greatest scenes in cinema.
It's brilliant. It's Crichton. He's got a lot of those moments in a lot of his books. They're fun books to read, by the way. They're really good science fiction because they are heavy on the science.
And his nonfiction is amazing as well too. Travels is my favorite.
Really? Oh, I didn't even know he did that.
The man was crazy. So the things that he go pick up Travels.
Wow. Okay.
I won't be disappointed.
Done. Okay.
Anima Confusa. David, I rewatched season 2 and I always feel bad for you hanging upside down in Runner.
So do I.
In all 5 seasons, what do you think were some of the more challenging scenes physically to film?
That was one that stood out for a couple of reasons. One was poor Rainbow was sort of getting pushed out at that point and struggling. It was really struggling. And in that scene, he had some dialogue that he was struggling to remember. And I was upside down, slowly losing consciousness because I was hanging upside down. So, and I'm fat and old and don't want to be hanging upside down before lunch. So I think I said something like, just shut up, move your freaking mouth when I stop talking. I'll do my lines, I'll do your lines. And then, so basically I just said each one of my lines in a row and then said, get me out of this fucking tree, like total full on. I went full McKay. because it was miserable. And those hazmat suits, they don't breathe. You're sweaty.
No, you're sweaty. It's probably dripping all up your face.
I was hungry, which is never good. It's never good.
Blood sugar.
No one, someone should have come up and just given me a Snickers bar or something. Anyways, and then as I do that, I look in and I see in the bushes, literally in the bushes, standing in nature somewhere, there's Jason. And he sort of he was like, oh man, because he hears the yelling. And then we make eye contact and he goes, and he pulls out his side and starts looking at them. And I heard him telling a story later on one of these conventions. And he said, yeah, I don't want the fat man yelling at me. I need to know my lines. So, it was, that stood out as a particularly painful moment. And I think they were difficult circumstances in general. One of the other hardest ones for me was the whole Rod and Rodney stuff. That was
with the
crazy hard, because you're talking either talking to a tennis ball or to a stand-in who had been told that they could basically read the lines. And that was one of those I told you so's where I was like, guys, you've got to get like an actor who can really pick up these lines, right? And so I was so tense. Because you're doing 2 roles, so you got twice as many lines to do. You're grumpy.
And you're already handling at least 50% of the dialogue anyway.
Let's be fair. I was feeling very hard done by. But the reality is, I think it's a bit like, not at all. In my mind, people laugh when I say this. In my mind, I feel it's a bit like extreme climbing or something. I feel like, I want to see how far I go before I break. Like, how many lines can I have to say? How many roles do you play at the same time? I loved, Orphan Black, because I was like, oh my God, what a dream, and what a nightmare at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, if you can make it through that, you've got the goods.
Colin Cunningham and I just had this conversation not an hour ago, where if you're not testing your mettle to determine the limits of your experience, what are you doing?
I think you become a soap actor. I mean, like, you become a metahuman. You're not quite. You become an uncanny valley. I think
you're just dancing through life.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. It was a great saying that you're supposed to do something that scares you every day. And luckily, everything scares me, so it's not. I don't just play a coward on television. I'm very good at it in life as well.
In any of your peers that I have spoken with, the only even suggestion of a negative comment has been around this type of a situation, and you get the impression from them that they're in such awe of your ability to digest the information and spit it out on cue that they're like, you know what? He's saying most of the dialogue anyway. Let's give him it. So people would laugh because my son laughs at me because I blow hard when I go, I am like, and it's sort of amusing. Some people find it scary, I guess, but I've definitely now got to a point in my life where I am dealing with that now, where I'm trying not to go there, because no one feels good in those situations. No one wants to be screamed at. No one wants to scream. I always felt guilty. I was constantly apologizing to people if I got grumpy about stuff. Weirdly enough, food was a big thing. It's a blood sugar thing. I mean, how often?
Absolutely.
I mean, everyone who's within the sound of my voice, I'm sure, has been in a situation where they have expectation of food. They go to store or they go to restaurant, and store does not have your item, or restaurant is closed. What reaction do you immediately have?
Yeah, the panic sets in, and you're hangry. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
So that was a big part of it. And also, I'm incredibly. I'm incredibly tough on myself. I really don't want to screw things up. I hate it when I say a line wrong. I had Tropper came up to me, Jonathan Tropper from See, brilliant guy who writes all the new See stuff. And he came up and said, yeah, look, I'm fine with all of your paraphrasing, but if we could just get this line to say that. And I was like, paraphrase, what are you talking about? I said, I'm freaking word perfect. He's like, you're so not word perfect. And I was like, dude, when I went off and I was like, I came back and I was like, there, how is that? He goes, yeah, mostly. But it's, I loved him. I got to say, it was, one of the few showrunners that it was actually I would prefer to have him on set than not.
Wow.
Normally it's like the showrunners are great to talk to in their environment.
And then it's see you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Then otherwise you just feel like you're being judged on set all the time.
That's fair.
He was just the most wonderful, amazing guy.
Linda Alexander, what was it like being back with Jason and Joe again on See?
Oh my God.
Can you talk about it now?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, Jason and I had an altercation, a really nasty argument at a convention actually in Australia, and I'd sort of come in last minute to fill in, I think for Joe actually. So not only was he disappointed that his friend hadn't shown up, I showed up and he was very, very angry about some stuff that had happened on Debug that was unbeknownst to me, and that was
the film you directed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The film that shall not be. Please don't watch it.
Okay.
No, I shouldn't say that. I mean, that there's, it was a learning experience. It was something that I'm very glad is behind me, but it was a very, very frustrating experience for many, many reasons, and partnering with the wrong people who weren't there to back you up on things, and some things were not handled that should have been. And one of them was there was a rule about how he was going to be in a poster or something. I can't remember what it was. There was something very specific that he was very angry about. And he, Jason is the kind of person who, if there is a problem, he wants it changed. Like you don't negotiate with Jason. He's very, actually, we're very similar that way. I think we both tend to blow pretty hard when we go. So I found myself toe to toe with Jason having this massive argument about some freaking poster in England or something. And I'm like, how the F am I supposed to know what the hell's going on? But it's not my job. He's, well, you should have let him. And I was like, yeah, well, we're back and forth having this argument in front of, there were fans and stuff around, had this huge argument. And I was in complete shock because I went to give him a hug. Because the last time I talked to him, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I felt like such an idiot because I'm like, come here. And he's like, whoa. And I was like, what the? I thought he was joking. Right. So we had this big fight. Didn't speak to each other the entire convention. He wanted me dead. I didn't want to see him. And since after that, I tried to get in touch a few times because I just, as always, you cool down and you're like, dude, let's just, whatever. And was never able to, because the reality is Jason is a very, very famous man now.
Yeah, he's successful, and I'm sure you're proud of him for it.
This is the funny thing is I found myself struggling to be happy for him, and that really bothered me. Because I was like, I was happy for him, but then you're like, and yet I have to see him all the time, and so
on buses and billboards, and he's everywhere you turn now.
Yeah, so it was this constant reminder that I had this lovely friend for so many years, and that we were no longer talking. Really bothered me. And I guess it's something that happens when you get older. I think I used to be able to handle that stuff better. Now it really eats away at me because I really, really love the guy. We are like oil and water. We are complete opposites. He is as cool and laid back as I am uptight and grumpy. But for some reason, he was always this lovely guy. He came to Dog's Breakfast when he didn't need to come and, just to support the movie, and just freaking loved him. Jane and I just adored him. And Baz, would talk about this massive guy. He remembers stepping into the trailer, and the whole trailer would go like this whenever he stepped in. Anyway, lovely guy. And C came up, and it was shooting in Toronto.
Yes.
And I got a call about a role, and I said, no, there's no freaking way. I said, I do not want to surprise Jason on set and have another freaking altercation. I'm not interested. And my agent said, well, just try. And I was like, no. And then Jane said, you're doing it. So I said, so I went and auditioned for it. And I got the part, and I was like, oh, I look at, I got these sides, and I was like, oh God, this is so good. It's so good. But I insisted on that they let the showrunner and everyone know that Jason and I had not been speaking. And I wanted to make sure that Jason knew and was okay with this, and that this wasn't going to be a problem. And basically thinking that it wasn't going to work. And And it did. They said, "Oh yeah, no, that's all sorted." I'm like, "I've heard this before," because that's how we got in trouble before. Is I was told this problem had been sorted, and then Jason was angry, and I didn't even know it was happening. So, I'm very skeptical when people say, "Oh yeah, no, it's all handled. It's all handled." So we do the first read through of season 2, and I, of course, being the nerd that I am, I'm like one of the first people there, and there's Jason there, and he's like, Hewlett. And I'm like, Momoa. And then from then on, it was like we were totally fine. I got on set. I just said to him, I said, "Look, thank you. I said, you did not have to let this happen. You did not have to make this happen." And then he tells me, he says, "Yeah, well, there was like a meeting, and they're saying like, oh, I want to do this bad guy, and the bad guy, he's like an evil Fraser Crane." And I said, "Hewlett." And I was like, I was just so touched, and it was like his. I guess it was kind of like his olive branch, and it was.
How about a tree?
Yeah, it was.
That's on his show.
The kind of gift, like, and it's a gift of a role. Like, it is a magnificent role. It is speeches and explosions and horses and swords and all the stuff that I just that it's like if you were to like imagine what would get you into film and television, like what made you want to do it, it was all in this thing. And and Tropper, again, I absolutely love Tropper, the cast and stuff, just an amazing bunch of people. Like, it truly, honestly, I'd have to say it's like my favorite gig. I mean, I loved Stargate, but Stargate was a hell of a lot of work and a hell of a lot of pressure.
It's also a different chapter of your life, too.
Yes, yeah. This was close to home, couple of days here or there, having wonderful speeches and wonderful time. And I just said to him, "Look," I said, "Thank you. You didn't have to make this happen. I really, really appreciate it." And then it was like, we're back on freaking Stargate again. I'm like making fun of his acting. He's making fun of my acting. We're like, it's like, it was, he's like, "Same guy, more expensive toys." And I was like,
"Yeah, right."
Yeah. And I can't tell you to shut up when I'm trying to learn lines because your music's too loud. Because he's got like a freaking village now that like he lives in like it's unbelievable. Anyways, he is exactly the same guy. He's absolutely lovely. He's a giant freaking heart.
I'm so glad to hear this. And
oh my God.
Detente is a beautiful thing.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why I loved it so much as well, was I think a big part of my loving the show so much was I was like, hey, I got Jason back. You know
exactly
what I mean?
right.
And again, I know Jason and I are not going to be hanging out in London together or anything. I mean, it's we never were that type of friendship.
Yeah, right.
But just I feel like now I can walk in a room, see Jason, say hello, have a nice conversation with him, and not have to worry about it. And he knows I'm not trying to fuck him over, and he knows, and I know that frankly he gave me a gift that I will never ever be able to thank him enough for. So.
And to people who are watching, let me tell you, if this is. We're approaching the holidays. If there is someone out there in your life, that you need to have a conversation with, please, bury
the hatchet, get it done,
and not in their back, in the ground.
One of my best friends.
Yeah,
that's right. Another story on this one.
Please.
One of my best friends now is a guy who I had another one of these horrendous fights. I honestly don't remember what it was about, but I remember for 6 years we didn't speak, and I was in an airport, and I look, and by the way, I take all responsibility for this stuff. Like I say, when I get angry, I get angry. I mean, it's like my wife and I have the best saying, which is, if it feels good, don't say it. And it's worked very well for our marriage because, I think in anger, you can say things that make you feel like, yeah, that'll get him. And it's like, you never say that stuff. You never get that back. So
no, you can't unmistreat someone.
No,
like
that's
that.
it.
No.
So so I'm in an airport. I see this guy. And he's like, I see him, and he sees me, and it's one of those like, and then I walk off and I get a coffee, and I'm sitting there, I go, I can't remember why I'm angry at him. Like I was like, why do I hate him? So I was like, oh, this is stupid. And I walked up to him, I was like, I don't remember why I hate you, but I figure, if I can't remember, what's the point? And his face, he was just like, oh, it was like this. And both of us, all of a sudden, it's like just this weight. There's no point in carrying this stuff around.
Unless it comes back and it's like, oh, now I remember. No, what?
Well, look, and even if I do, at this point, I think it wouldn't matter. Honestly, I don't think it would matter.
Good for you.
Because it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Because I think the only damage you do is to yourself. And I think I was someone, I had this saying that I would say as a joke, which is always like, it's not enough to succeed, others must fail. And I realize now that I'm older, that as funny as that was in my head, it's the wrong attitude.
Yeah,
It's
it leaves
just
you
the wrong
really
attitude.
hollow.
A better one would be like a rising tide, raises all boats or
ships.
whatever.
I use that all the time.
Because I think that's more important is the idea that people, whether you like them or not, who do well, it doesn't matter. It's not like a zero-sum game. You feel like you've lost a part because someone's got it. You're not in their world. That's not that, you know what I mean? Like, that's not. Casting is so weird, and it's one of the things that drives me crazy about the film industry is that casting is such a weird process. There is no science to casting unless Jason Momoa is going to bring in X number of dollars. But anyways, I have never regretted, owning up to my mistakes, which are many, and I've never regretted saying sorry or thanking people for things that they've done. I don't think you can lose with stuff like that all year round. Forget the season.
I agree. What does it hurt other than potentially your pride?
Doesn't. And what is pride anyways? It doesn't mean anything anyways. No, that's it. It's the friend. And friends are so much more. They're just so much more valuable in the so the guy that we had that I didn't talk to for 6 years, he now lives like about a block away, and we walk the dog like every other day together. And we chat all the time. He's brilliant, by the way.
Wow.
He's another guy people should check out. He's got a series of books called the Haunted Library, and it is a series of short stories. And I swear to God, he's like a modern day Ray Bradbury. These fantastic. One of my favorite stories is in the first book. These are all self-published books he's done, by the way. He's like a screenwriter.
Like children's books.
Yeah, but they're not children's books. They're like children's books as if written by somebody who wants to torture children with horrific stories.
Oh, terrific.
So it's fantastic. But one of my favorite stories is in the first book. It's called Tad the Monster. And it is about a child who looks like a monster and then learns to become one. Because of society, because of the world, because of and it's just the most, I like the hairs on the back of my neck go up just thinking about it. It's this beautiful, horrible,
wow, wonderful
tale of sort of like mistreating people and that there aren't the monsters aren't, born, they are created. I mean, and that's just one of them. There's like a ton of these amazing ones. He's got one called Madison Bane, werewolf detective, which is really fun. He's just got a wonderful sense of humor, and he's also just a brilliant writer and a brilliant guy, frankly. So yeah,
that's really cool, man.
And the books aren't that expensive, so just pick them up, and then
absolutely come back on and say what you thought.
I'm so much better at selling everyone else's stuff. I've got to get better at
selling me.
Yeah,
that's funny. Martin Paquette, I'm such a huge fan of McKay and how you played him in The Shrine. He says, this guy says was your top episode. What research did you do to prepare for that episode? And I have a follow up to that. Doing that with your sister.
Yeah, it's funny.
There's gotta be a levity at the same time. It's like putting yourself in the real situation, man. Because she and I have talked about it. It's like she at a certain point she was bawling. She was inconsolable.
I think you can only sort of play those things. Straight because you can't mock any of that kind of stuff. I think you can't. Again, it's sort of the nature of. That's why I think comedians are really better actors than actors, because if you can make people laugh, they laugh because they connect to something. You know what I mean? Like, or you shock someone or something. But that was so beautifully written, that piece. And also there's a luxury there. Like normally in something like that, you have to go and you have to research specifically. What is it? What are the, but in this case, you could just take this sort of story that Brad had put together and just play with different aspects of different conditions, Were
you aware of how personal that story was for him at the time?
Yeah. I now so I connect. I didn't.
You didn't then. Okay.
No. Well, in fact, one of my funny stories was about Brad was doing off camera with me because we shot all of the video stuff at lunch one day, which is again one of the things I love about film is that you could spend a week working and crafting these things. I truly believe that the best stuff comes out of accidents, and we had a lunchtime to do this. So I sort of came in literally with like a sandwich, and then we would do the scenes, and he cried, and I said, and I was like, you're not crying because of my performance, you're crying because of your lines. Because it was like, it's so beautiful what I've written. But he just, and again, he's just he's such a suck. I love him. And then I heard recently what it was all about. But I think we all know people like this. It's so prevalent now, this aging population, people, people who struggle with that stuff, and mental health. I mean, mental health is a big part of our family. We've had a lot of mental health issues in our family. So, so there were just little aspects of everything there. It's one of those beautiful things that if this had been anything, if it was an ER episode or something like that, you'd have to know everything about that disease. But in this, you could just take the cues from the script and just make them as real as you could. And I loved it. And of course, it helps having your sister there. Because
I was about to ask, with her right
the
there.
drop of a hat. She starts sobbing away, and it's no, it was wonderful. It was wonderful having her. It was always, I loved having Kate there because there's no, we just insult each other the whole time. And it's just, it's kind of fun. And she's also one of the funniest and most talented people I've ever met, unfortunately. So,
How is motherhood treating her? I haven't spoken with her.
Oh my God. They've got this freaking perfect child. It's just these giant freaking eyes and God. Yeah, she seems to be, she seems to really be love. I'm so happy for her because I just don't know I could never imagine her without a kid. Like, she's just such, of all of us, I think she probably is the one that I would most have imagined having a child. And she was the only one who hadn't. So, the kids, George is just, I call her George. Of course, everyone hates that, but that's why I say it.
In your opinion, Goran Adanovsky wants to know, which expedition leader did McKay prefer to work with the most? Weir, Carter, or Woolsey? Which do you think he connected with the most?
Carter, I think. I mean, begrudgingly, but I think Carter. Weir was always a struggle for him, I think, because I just don't, because I think the advantage that Carter had was that because of the science aspect of it, he was not, I don't think McKay really understood bureaucracy. He was never good at diplomacy. He never understood any of that kind of stuff. I mean, and if you asked him, he probably thought that he was the team leader anyway. So I think, if you asked McKay who he thought was the best team leader, it would be himself. And now a few words on leadership.
Right, exactly. And him thinking that before Carter comes in, that he's fully convinced that he's going to take over the expedition. Yeah, and just completely shocked. And it's like, wow.
I think that's it. But that is absolutely McKay. I mean, I think, it's funny thinking back, looking at McKay through sort of the current lens is fascinating to me because I found a little bit of tea. Excuse me. Pardon me while I die. Go on without me, David.
I'll carry the torch.
Yeah, you do it. Tell him the story. I forgot what I was saying before I started dying. What was I? Something fascinating, I'm sure.
Talking about, for God's sake, what is it that happens in our minds?
It's because it's a squirrel. This is a squirrel fact.
Squirrel. Absolutely. No, we were talking about
what was the question? Let's go back to the question.
McKay, Carter, Woolsey, or
yes.
Yeah. Or
he really does assume that he's going to be put in charge. I think he really does fancy himself a hero. But at the same time, and is to some extent, but I think he just doesn't, again, he doesn't understand diplomacy at all. Mm-hmm. I remember having an argument with Tori at one point where we all ran for the puddle jumper and we all took seats and she got stuck in the back. And she said, don't you think that you would give up the chair? I said, absolutely I would. She said, good, can I have it? I said, but McKay wouldn't.
McKay would not. That's the thing.
There's no way he would give up his seat.
Yeah.
And she was very frustrated by it. And I was like, Tori, it's not you. It's not me.
It's him.
It's McKay and Weir. And I'm afraid, not to be a dick, but I'm a dick. You know what I mean?
He's thinking about himself. and I am responsible for getting us there.
And
You
I think
can
actors
diplomacy
forget that.
your way out of it, but I mean,
And I think actors
for
can
us-
forget that sometimes. They
Yeah.
can get so into their character that they forget either into their character or into their own. They connect so much with their character that they don't know where they stop and the other one begins. And I'm not good enough actor to do all that chameleon stuff, so I tend to just pull on stuff that exists for me. So that tiny little ego that I have, you play on that. Sarcasm was always a big fan of sarcasm. So I think you play up those elements of yourself that work for the character. And McKay, unfortunately, there was an awful lot to work with.
Unfortunately,
yeah, or fortunately, depending on the case, maybe. Yeah.
Weather's windy.
Oh, right. So that was the current lens. The current lens. That's what I was talking about.
Yes.
The idea that I mean, McKay would have been canceled.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And that's not a bad thing. I just think that what's interesting there is that in a way, Atlantis was about him discovering humanity, if that makes sense. He'd worked alone for so long. He was so reviled by so many people that what I loved about McKay was that instead of being introduced to a character, we were almost sort of pulling him apart, seeing where all the strings led. You know what I mean? And I think that's what was so much fun about it.
And it was also just a different era in television too. I mean, he would be written differently if it were happening now. I mean, Mobius in Mobius, he grabs Carter's butt, and it's played for laughs. And now that would not happen that way.
Nope.
It's just
there was a lot of that too, because I mean, again, SG1 started long before people realized that the way we were living our lives was wrong. I think what's kind of great about what's going on now is that you could definitely get, I think people can get kind of worked up about where things are going, but the reality is, I think what's most important is that society is now ready to start considering this stuff.
Having that larger conversation.
Yeah, that it would you couldn't even talk about this stuff before.
And I'm not saying that scene wouldn't have happened now, but our reaction to it would be very different, and our reaction to him would be very different. And there would have to be some kind of a, if we are to continue to look at him as a hero, he has to have that arc so that we can see and connect the dots and go, okay, we're not there anymore. We are here. I buy that. Because, I mean, we can still go back and watch the show, and the character is still a huge success because we have the connective tissue of all of it, of all aspects of him.
But this is the other thing, though, I think that people forget, or maybe people don't want to know, I don't know, is that good people do bad things and bad people do good things. And I think that's what makes interesting characters. And I think we want to be careful not to throw out everything because of it. That is by no means defending, obviously any kind of
behavior,
or predatorial behavior, any of that kind of stuff. But I feel like, I think that's part of the problem. And people go like, how does this happen? It happens because, some of these assholes are actually nice to people. You know what I mean? Like, some of the people are terrible in private and fantastic in public, or and I would hate to see these characters not exist anymore, because I think that would be false. It would be false to believe that people aren't, that there are these people that exist.
The reverse option is scary in my opinion, which is to just delete it altogether. There is were you aware of Community, the series?
I loved Community. Yeah.
There was an episode called, which is one of my favorites, called, I shouldn't even be getting into this, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
And Ken Jeong plays an elf in blackface in this episode, but he's not. God,
I don't remember that.
He's not playing a character in blackface. He's playing some kind of shadow elf.
Right.
And they killed the whole episode because of what it was appearing to be on the surface, because people complained.
Right.
When inside of that story is a story about someone who is being mistreated by someone else. Remember. And by the end of that episode, the guy who is mistreated goes to Chevy Chase, who has been mistreating this guy who is on the verge of suicide for the entire show. And he goes to Chevy Chase and says, that was the best game of Dungeons and Dragons I've ever played. If you want to play again next weekend, I'll play. And Chevy's like, okay, I'll do it. But that doesn't matter. What matters now is the appearance of the Ken Jeong's character, and so the entire episode has been removed. It is not available to be seen online anymore. And I'm looking at those kinds of situations as like, we've got to be really careful about everyone's feelings, but B, making sure that we understand everything that as best we can, and then making a judgment call based on that. Maybe putting at the beginning, an explanation of what's going on, or like Disney is doing. Okay, keep in context what you're about to watch is a product of its time, and what you're about to watch may not be implying what you think it's meaning, as well as with the.
I think that's important. I mean, at the same time, I also feel like what I love is that we're having these discussions now.
Correct.
I think that it's important. I have only recently realized, this is how privileged I am. I only recently realized, of course, that my perspective on everything is very specific. I mean, there's and again, this is a huge discussion, obviously, but I think
we could go for hours on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I read an amazing book, which I found incredibly uncomfortable, called So You Want to Talk About Race?
Yeah.
And her position at one point in the book, which got me really upset until I went, okay, let's just say she's right, which was basically, I am, white, straight, able-bodied, and what else is there? Anything else? So, but basically, it means I'm a racist. I'm racist, sexist, homophobic, and ableist. And I was like, oh, come on! Like, I was like, really? And then I went, well, wait a second. What if I am? Like, just for a second, what if I step back and go, I am? And then I go, okay, so I'm going to approach things from that perspective now, from now on. So when I say the wrong thing, I don't get defensive. I go, thank you. Great. Okay, I had not thought of that, because we all have a very specific view of the world, and that is based entirely on how we were raised and what we look like. And that's unfortunate. But the reality is, if you could step back and realize that racists aren't all running around, heiling Hitler and wearing white,
right?
Like that racism is something completely different than that. And that again, that if you need to sort of step into that role before you understand, before you can start accepting what's happening.
I think as long as people are willing to have a conversation and not say, no, you are what I think you are because I said so, and I am going to assert my power over you, and period. As long as we can continue to have a conversation, and as long as it's in good faith and not in bad faith, because there is a difference. Then absolutely.
And there needs to be offense. There needs to be offense at times. Nothing changes. People.
No, words are tools. We have to.
Everybody
we
can be
find
something.
our boundaries by communicating, and then Patrick Stewart, admitted once he told a joke that could be inferred as racist, and instead of Michael Dorn and LeVar Burton freaking out about it, they came to him and said, "Look, this is how we feel about what you said," and he was like, "I had no idea. Yeah. I am so sorry," and they were like, "Yeah. We love you, and we respect you enough that we came to you in person and told you how we felt." And now you make of it what you will, and they moved on, and we don't move on as much anymore. So,
well, I think also that you got to choose the platform for that. You're not going to have those discussions on Twitter. You're not going to have those discussions on social media.
And
those are
X
discussions that need to happen.
It's awful.
And to question it when it comes up. I mean, that's the other thing is, like, when this stuff comes up, it's, the reason why, us white guys have such a hard, why you don't talk about race? It's because we don't have to. You know what I mean? We haven't spent our entire life having to have those discussions. So how dare we say, I don't want to have these discussions? Why does it have to be about race? It has to be about race because for other people, that's their entire existence,
But the art,
but again, this is all learning. I get excited about this because, again, we're just learning new stuff, new perspectives, a new world, new societies. I mean, this is all. It can only be good, honestly. I think having discussions,
as long as we keep talking,
as long as you're talking, that's it. That's true.
And the art that you guys get to engage in terms of creating a performance helps people immensely. Duja89, I want to say thank you to David. Depression hit hard a few months ago, and I attempted suicide.
Oy.
He says, afterwards, I ended up rewatching Sunday and The Shrine and the scene of McKay and Shepard on the pier. And he said that was a big chunk of helping him to begin to recover. Wow. So thank you, DJ89.
And keep going, buddy. I mean, it's like that. I mean, this is the thing is depression is one of those weird things. I think, something else worth talking about. I love that.
I have suffered from it.
Absolutely.
Myself.
I mean, and again, everything's a spectrum. Like we found it with light. We found it with electromagnetic. I mean, everything we've got, it's all, we've got, the reality is everything is a spectrum. And I think, you just sort of got to look at your own stuff and go, where am I on these things? And learn the sort of the telltale signs. My wife is responsible for fixing a lot of stuff in my life because she said, look, I love you, but you are out of, you are not in a good place. And your first response is always like, screw you.
That's the knee jerk reaction, for sure.
I'm a guy. I don't need to do that. And it's, I feel horrible that anyone gets to the point where they want to do that kind of stuff. And good for you for vocalizing that, for getting that out there. And it's wonderful if a show can help like that. But the reality is, thank you, but you did that, not me. I mean, you know what I mean? Like the show, I'm sure can be a great thing to watch and a great thing to sort of get you. One of the things I love about science fiction is that it's fantastic escapism. That's what I love that. I need that so often, but the reality is, you're still here because of you. So, make sure you give yourself some credit on that as well.
Yeah. It comes down to a choice, you can choose to allow your problems to surmount you and destroy you, or you can take a chance and say, you know what, I'm going to try to take a chance on myself, and I'm going to try to be brave. Because being brave is staying in the fight.
And it's also not just you. That's the other thing, is that it's like, I think there are times when you feel that it isn't worth it, but that's generally when you've got to such a place that it's only you. And the reality is we all have, we're like we're a pebble in the water, right? I mean, there are just ripples of effect that we have. I mean, it's been, these things lead to other people making bad decisions, and I think there's I'm not saying it's, don't be irresponsible. Don't be irresponsible. Stay alive.
No, but make good ripples.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good way of putting it. Make good ripples. I like that. Yeah,
absolutely. This is interesting. Akos.
We're like a self-help.
And next in, we have Katie from Washington. You do not want to take
life advice from McKay. Yeah. No. And now a word on leadership. Yeah.
Weather's windy. David, how aware are you of the Stargate Legacy relaunch novels? And did you know what happened with McKay in it?
People tell me every so often. I haven't read them. I'm first off, I'm terrible at reading. I think I'm definitely more of an audiobook now. But I can't do fiction.
Think of what would happen if the Wraith did to McKay what Atlantis did to Michael.
Ooh, nice. Well, I tell you, people ask me what is the one thing I miss from Stargate that we didn't do on Stargate that I would like to have done, and it's evil McKay. I want an evil McKay because it's so much fun. I mean, I've been running around basically like an evil McKay, slightly crazier, and it's just villains are just so much fun. They get all the fun, the villains.
Now, were you to do that, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you wouldn't have. I'm evil McKay.
No,
would have had this like tension running through of like serious and intense.
Well,
would that be how you would have taken that?
I think so. I mean, I think the reality is, I think that everyone's a villain as well, right? So it's just about playing up those villainous aspects. You go predatorial as opposed to just inappropriate. You take out empathy when it comes to technology. McKay makes a lot of villainous decisions in Atlantis anyways. He gets us into a lot of trouble because he just can't leave things alone. And I think that would be really fun to explore if it was somebody who just suddenly doesn't have that empathy, doesn't have that humanity. McKay could have gone that way. That's the reality, is that if McKay had been sent to, I don't know, Siberia instead to work for longer periods of time, he could have come back as a truly, dangerous and I mean, you could almost go tech millionaire with it. Could have tech billionaire.
I was thinking Dark Side Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Come out with an Iron Man suit, and God knows what he's powering it with. And,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think if McKay was left to his own devices, I think that very few people would be left alive, and he would have developed unlimited energy.
Right.
For no one.
Yeah.
Because everyone's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and again, it would be, it would be some kind of like he would have some kind of world structure where it's like, either you are a scientist or you are not important.
Yeah.
I think, absolutely could see that. That'd be fun. God, it'd be so much fun to do. Villains are so much fun. Oh my God, I just love. I mean, one of the things I loved about McKay was that he was, he was wrong a lot of the time. He did do the wrong thing. I mean, it's so much fun to play characters who would say and do things that you would never do, but you get to sort of,
you play out those fantasies.
Yeah. In a very safe way. McKay's safe word. I don't know what that would be. ZPM maybe or something. I don't know.
Just Thinking wants to know, any chance at a guest episode on one of the new Treks? You've been auditioning, right?
Oh God, I did for a while. Yeah, I haven't. There hasn't been anything recently, but yeah, I went in for a bunch of stuff. Yeah, obviously I'd love to. Hired
All popped on there, and I was like, yes.
Oh God, he's so good.
He's so good. And it was a blip of a performance, but at least it was something.
And he's so distinctive too. Like you just can't miss him.
No.
I could have been on there, people wouldn't even notice. I'm always terrified. It's funny. One of the things on See is I've got I've got a rather extensive prosthetics that they've actually, you can see it. I think you can see it sort of behind my head there.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah. The makeup effects guys, the group, the team, women and men who did it are just absolutely just brilliant. And it was 2.5 hours of prosthetics. And I was joking. I said, "Oh God, I'm gonna be doing like Star Trek soon." And they're like, "Oh, you don't want to do that because that's always like
right.
It's like the full."
And
I've always been a bit scared of that. But Doug Jones, watching Doug Jones work, I have a newfound respect for the creatures. I don't know that I'd have the patience. I am so. Yeah, he was like a saint in Shape of Water. I couldn't get over what he did.
And I mean, what he did in Pan's Labyrinth. I mean, the guy he's a chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
He can take on any shape. I suppose there's just a wire that you have to cut in your brain to let you just be absorbed by whatever it is that's going to consume your face and your body and everything else and help you develop this personality.
He is so enthusiastic about it. Like I think we share a certain kind of just unadulterated love of what we do when we get to do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's one of the dangers with having a job that is what you love to do is that sometimes you can lose that. There have been times in my career that I've lost that excitement about stuff. And I think it's I would say that the Del Toro's what got it back for me. Because I did Shape of Water and thought, okay, great, Guillermo's on the list. That's going to help for roles. But that was sort of my feeling going into it because it's like, it's not a very big role, whatever. And then doing the read-through, doing the rehearsals, and I was like, oh God, I hate rehearsals. I don't want to do rehearsals, And then I didn't want to leave.
Wow,
because it was just such an amazing thing to watch these actors work and to watch Guillermo and his stories about all the time that he got to take with it, and then. Mm-hmm. And then they couldn't get me off set because I was just like, what does that do? What does this do? And we're talking to Guillermo and I are talking about comic books and stuff.
I was about to ask, how nerdy is he?
He's like, I want to say like, he's like the Gandalf of Hollywood. He's like a magician among magicians. I mean, he just freaking loves it, but he's also terrifying. I mean, like you don't want to mess it up, like, because partially because you just don't want to let him down, but also because like he knows what he wants and he demands
you need to deliver it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it is without, I'm really excited because I'm going to be working with him again in January.
Because, great.
So he's got this show called like 10 After Midnight or 12 After Midnight, or I should probably know the name of it, shouldn't I? But they just announced it, and it's a series of horror It's like an anthology show of horror directors, basically.
10 After Midnight, Netflix horror anthology. Ooh.
Yeah, so I am doing one with my very, very old high school friend, Vincenzo Natali, who did Cube and Splice and In the Tall Grass and has just done The Peripheral. A brilliant and absolutely wonderful old friend of mine, and Guillermo. So, and God knows what they've got for me, but I know I went in. I did a fitting for a tunnel the other day, so we'll see where that leads.
A tunnel. They're like, okay, what's the smallest you could be in a tunnel? And I'm like, oh God, it's after Christmas. I'm at a turkey on either side. That's great. I feel bad for you though.
This is the beautiful thing about Vincenzo and Guillermo, for the matter. It's never generally comfortable, but it's always fantastic.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you walk away going, damn, that was good, or that looks good, then
again, it's that extreme acting sports thing where you go like,
right?
That was so grueling, but oh my God, how cool is that?
Dan Ben, did you what were your true feelings of Rodney's first name being revealed as Meredith?
Oh, I didn't care. I was so funny. People get names are so funny because I've had this because in the little tiny bit of writing I've done, I realized that names are one of those things that you can't argue with people about. People go, oh, no, you can't use that name. It's a terrible name. And you're like, for you, that's a terrible name.
Right.
For me, it's got a completely different connotation.
Subjective.
So it's entirely, Meredith never had any, I never worried about having a girl's name, if that makes sense. Although, to be fair, my sisters used to tease me by saying Davida. And that was always there, I was like, well, shut up, I'm not Davida. Because they're like, your hair's so long, you're Davida. But that was back in the days when it was, God forbid a man should be called a woman. Now it's like, whatever.
My issue was, okay, this just destroys continuity because his name was Rodney Ingram McKay as a nod to Benjamin Ingram before the show started. And then with the stroke of Martin Garrow's pen, it was erased. And so we had to... Then on the Omnipedia, we're like, okay, so we're going to name him McKay, Meredith. And Darren's like, no, it's still Rodney McKay. We'll put a forward in for Meredith. I'm like, okay.
Right.
That's his name.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. It would be hard to change that name.
Of course.
Although Meredith McKay's he'd be much better as a country singer of some sort.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. I can see that.
So far from home.
Dave, it's been a pleasure.
Always,
having you back
always.
On, man.
I'm amazed I made it through. I was a little worried I was gonna fall asleep on you or something because as I say, I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for my mRNA to kick in.
Well, to borrow from Jack O'Neill,
That was a surprise. I didn't know he was popping in on the AI.
Oh, you didn't? Wasn't that a trip?
I was like, oh my God. I don't know what the hell he was talking about, but it was fantastic to see him. As always. There's a few people like that who I absolutely love. One of them is actually a director on See as well, who will come up to you and say things to you, and I'll go, okay, great, yeah, fantastic. And then someone will say, what is that? What is he saying? I was like, I have no idea at all. But I get the sense we're doing the right thing.
You intuit it. Yeah,
exactly. It's all about that wonderful energy. So
exactly.
Now you've got to be dying. This is like your third, fourth hour of this now. How many?
Yeah, I started. I'm almost hitting 5 hours, and then I'm gonna work. I have a 10, 11 hour shift right after I end with you. So,
dude, I gotta say,
I'm in the middle of it.
You are. I think I said this in the chat, but thank you because I cannot believe how you do this. I can't believe how you can make this all exciting again. Whatever it is, 1,000 years after I did it, and yeah, it's just fantastic.
I am absolutely privileged. I just I'm trying to get more of your colleagues involved, and it's just a luck of the draw. And I'm so thankful for the cast of Atlantis. They're tremendous. SG1 and Universe have been a little bit tougher. But anyone who wants to play, yeah,
it's harder because I think people. I mean, I think some people like to move on, and
can't blame them.
But I'm a nerd, so
absolutely.
I'm like, no, I'm not letting McKay go. I freaking love that guy.
And it's not as long as we're keeping it interesting and fresh. and it's not the same thing, time after time. That's the important thing to me. And the fact that we're almost at 20,000 subscribers, something's working, you know, and
if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. So that's
correct.
Honestly, so no one needs to say thank you. I enjoy this stuff. So,
well, I appreciate you, and I look forward to having you in the new year, sir.
Let's do it again. Yeah,
I appreciate it, brother.
Gimpy G, check him out.
Yes,
follow him on Twitter.
Fundraiser for
follow
Lance,
him on Twitch.
Lance Quad Squad.
Yeah, he's absolutely wonderful. And even if you don't have any money, just go and follow him on Twitch.
Yeah,
that will help him
share
with his
the story.
Subscribers. Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I think you'll love him. He's quite a character.
Dave, continued luck with Tech Bandits.
Thank you much.
Really excited about the Del Toro bit. We'll be watching.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Start shooting that in January.
Oh, legit.
And Nightmare Alley's coming out.
Okay,
so if you watch the trailer, David, if you're watching the trailer, you probably recognize some fantastic hand acting.
Dr. Elrude.
That was my hand that comes in onto the. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah. I literally paused it for my son. I was like, "Look, see, that's
your
my
dad's hand."
It's like, Dad,
that's
you're
great.
so lame. But yeah, that's my hand. It's actually it's a very small scene.
Okay.
But it was rather fun. Fun to do, and it was double in length because we shot it before the pandemic. I showed up for my second day of shooting. And they said, "Go home." Longest lunch I've ever had. It was 6 months.
Wow.
Then we came back and then shot the rest of the scene.
Wow. Nightmare Alley. All right.
Yeah. So go check that out as well. I think it's December, I believe.
Okay. Absolutely, sir. We will do that.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much. And
likewise,
we'll check in after the holidays.
Yeah. Try to get some sleep somewhere.
One of these days, brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be well.
All right.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye, Dave.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.
David Hewlett, Rodney McKay on Stargate, Atlantis, SG-1, and my light is absolutely gone. I apologize. It's so dark in here. My name is David Reed, and you're watching Dial the Gate. We have an update on the merchandise portal on the website. So if you go to dialthegate.com, and maybe I should have set this up right before I brought it up. So dialthegate.com, and then you click on merch, and any one of our items now, it'll take you to all the items. We're really, really happy about this. Thank you, Frederick, for making that happen. So, and that's my dashboard there, so just ignore that, please. So if you really want to support the show, we appreciate anything that you can do, a share. But if you want to buy some of our themed swag, we now have that available. T-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, all on dialthegate.com/merch. We really appreciate your support. And as always, my amazing team of moderators, Summer, Tracy, Keith, Jeremy, Reese, and Anthony, you guys are the best. Big thanks again to Frederick for helping us develop the new dialthegate.com. You can reach him at conceptsweb.ca. And thanks to my producer, Linda Gategabber Fury, as well. They really are pulling out all the stops to make season 2 possible. We're going to get out of here, folks. I do have a couple of episodes scheduled for next week, and then we're taking the U.S. Thanksgiving weekend off, but that information is going to be coming in the next couple of days here as soon as I can get the time and energy together to assemble that. In the meantime, my thanks once again to David Hewlett. Always a pleasure to have him on, and to all of you for tuning in and helping to make Season 2 and the continued growth of Dial the Gate possible. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. You guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you on the other side.